we're here. We're all here. We got a little Christmas tree in the back and everything like that. Merry Christmas, everyone. Okay, how's it going? All right, or Happy Hanukkah to the 3% of the population, and I don't know if anybody celebrates Kwanzaa, but I mean, hey, it's. I guess some people do. I don't know. Or those nutty reindeer. I don't know. We got one running out back there and one hiding over here, but we got a little helper over here. Hans, come on, come here, buddy. Come here. All right, come on. Yeah, he had like half a pizza anyway. It's a little treat for him. Say hi, buddy. There you go. There we go. All right, so we got someone here. All right, we got a whole lot of people here today. Here we go. We got Ruben. Hey, Ruben, how's it going, man? All right, we got Adam. We got Frozen Kebab. Yeah, Hanukkah did end yesterday. One of my best friends is Jewish, so of course I wished him a happy Hanukkah. We got Renell Reed. Hello, Renell. Hello, G. Hello, GN. Hello, Grambo. Grambo, you're here. All right. Merry Christmas, Saturnalia, Solstice, Yuletide. I'm Catholic, so I mean it's Christmas for me. Hello, Akshar, and I did get your email, so I got one of the links up over here, so we'll go over that. Hello, Renell. I think I already said hello to you, but I'll say hello again. No harm in saying hello. We got Osman. Hello there. Dark Side Studio. Chicago Rail fan, Pensy fan, Ryan Rail. We got everybody here. Okay, let's get started. So it's gonna be a bit of a wild night tonight. We're gonna go over not just some recent news, but we're just gonna go over the year, and also we're gonna go over what we're hoping for next year, and get this this freaking damn whatever year out of the way, and just let's get moving on. But you know how things are. Things just keep happening, and that's how it usually is anyway. So let's get started here with the first article, because there's been a lot of news going down south, and if you heard Orange Blossom Special, and I love Johnny Cash. He's my one of my favorites for sure, and country music isn't the same at all anymore. It's garbage. I mean, blues and Johnny are like that's where it really's at. All right, so let's start with this and get this real quick out. There's bigger news. The second bigger news I think we could all talk about is who would be the next Department of Transportation Secretary. But let's get let's get some hometown news out of the way and go from there. Of Tri-Rail, because if you guys are from South Florida, or you have looked at the Brightline station, you would notice that there are Tri-Rail platforms on there for track 4 and 5, I believe. Or no, it's just track 5. But they have them there, and they've had them there for a while on the assumption that Tri-Rail would be able to go ahead and get their trains from the CSX tracks on the I-95. It's right west of the I-95 corridor, and then there's a little bit of rail that connects from west to east, and they'll be able to go down and get them into the Brightline station, into MiamiCentral. But here's what's next with that, because they've been sort of lagging behind in getting that, and Brightline has moved ahead in getting their coastal link up and running. So here's the thing. Tri-Rail cannot begin servicing MiamiCentral until Brightline's system achieves a key safety certification. So earlier this week, the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority announced that the Federal Railroad Administration certified that their tracks comply with federal requirements for PTC, which is Positive Train Control. So that's very good. The tracks that run into downtown Miami are not included in that certification. Again, these are mostly freight railroad tracks that have never been used for passenger rail in a very long time. However, service cannot begin until the safety certification is granted by the feds. And of course, it's usually the Federal Railroad Administration that usually gets things lagging about. Speaking about lagging about, I got something special that I'm going to probably be drinking tonight. I'm not going to drink the whole thing about it, but this I've been saving up for this one stream. Let me get some light on here. I was missing something. It's like a little dark. There we go. Now we got some light. Let there be light. There we go. All right. Yeah, Brightline can build a train line to the Orlando, but the government can't certify a switch. That's exactly right, Ruben. That's what it is. But I'm going to have this. This is Rogue Brewery, Santa's Private Reserve from a different time. 2019 was definitely a different time here. I'm not going to have the whole pint on air. And usually when I'm, drinking with friends or whatnot. It's usually like, once a week or whatnot. I've never really gotten drunk at all in my life or whatnot. It really doesn't affect me because I just have such a high metabolism and I have such a high tolerance for it. But what has this got here? This year Santa to visit us in Newport brought along some candy cap mushrooms that he picked himself. This thing's got shrooms. I don't know what kind of shrooms this got in here, but hey, we're gonna try a bit of it. But let's keep reading on here as I go ahead and crack this open. So the SFRTA is hoping that Brightline will begin the safety testing process in the spring of 2021 when they restart service. So that was the other reason why I saved this article. It seems we have an answer here. It's going to be the spring of 2021. So let's toast to that and hope that actually happens and we can get back on the road again, or back on the railroad. Not bad. It's actually pretty smooth. Didn't expect that. Not bad at all. A link from Tri-Rail's tracks to Brightline's tracks is already complete, but also isn't yet certified. Tri-Rail trains will run that link to achieve certification once Brightline begins running again. All right. Victor Garcia, who's the spokesperson for SFRTA, said he doesn't feel that Brightline is impeding Tri-Rail and that there have been meetings between the two sides. Again, Tri-Rail is really just being bogged behind because of the FRA, which is usually the FRA. If things aren't moving along as quickly as we begin, it's because of the FRA. That's really what it is. A total of $70 million in taxpayer funding was awarded to Brightline to build the Tri-Rail station at MiamiCentral. Yeah, and there we go. There's a Tri-Rail station marker and everything there. So it's supposed to happen, and it's going to be really good when that does happen because then you'll get a lot more people getting into there. Let's check out in the comments right over here. Did you see the news regarding the governor of Texas' letter to the Prime Minister of Japan? He sent a letter to TCR, then a bunch of opponents complained, and his office retracted it. Actually, this never came up on my news stream. I have a whole bunch of news, but suddenly I didn't get this one. All right, we're gonna definitely look that one up because that's pretty important here. Let me put up Governor Abbott, Texas, TCR, PM, Japan. There we go. All right. Thank you for putting that on there. Yeah, and Japan has a new prime minister. If you guys haven't heard the news in like a couple of months now, Shinzo Abe has stepped down for health reasons, and we now have Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga of Japan. All right, let's put that over here, and we'll add that into there. I'm gonna move this over forward so we can get into that. But let's get into the next news. All right. So I know, like I said before, guys, okay, when we talk about politics here on the channel, I'm only going to stick to politics that have to do with transportation. You guys know my politics. You know, I'm not a big liberal at all whatsoever. I'm very conservative. Again, I don't know what the heck is going on anymore. I've kind of distanced myself from everything that's going on because everything is always 2 more weeks, or so there's a chance. There's a chance that he may or may not still be, I don't know. Whoever is president on the 21st will happen, but let's see what happens. Like, don't expect any big, massive changes to happen either way, okay? We didn't get nationalized high-speed rail under the last guy, and neither this guy was going to do it anyway. The $1 trillion plan that he was touting never really happened anyway, and the blame can be put everywhere on both sides of the parties. Again, it's all talk. It's all about results. That's what we want. We want results. We want rails. But let's see over here. I do think that maybe Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg, if you guys remember, he was one of the former, running contestants for the Democratic National Convention to run for president. But he didn't make it. I think he went out like in Super Tuesday or something like that. But again, he's the mayor of South Bend up here in Indiana. So I mean that's a very I would say that's a town that's more of a city that has a lot of connections over to the South Shore Rail Line and also connects into Chicago. Again, so it's a very important place there. I would say it's like an 80-mile away suburb of Chicago in a sense. Hence why they would elect somebody like Pete Buttigieg, compared to the rest of Indiana, where you get somebody like Mike Pence, who would probably electrocute somebody like him. I don't know if you guys remember the memes. Mike Pence, LGBT BBQ Pence. Those were funny memes. And again, we like everybody here. We don't discriminate against anybody. But again, it's funny if it's funny. I always make jokes about everybody. That's me. Nobody is going to run away from a joke. You are all going to be joked about. But this is NASCAR driver Ryan Newman is from South Bend. I haven't kept up with NASCAR in a long time. I think I stopped watching sports when I was maybe after the Marlins won the World Series the last time. I just stopped watching sports from there. NASCAR died when Dale Earnhardt died. That guy was my hero when I was a kid. I used to watch NASCAR every time, and when I saw that crash, that killed me. That really did. Not really killed me. It killed him, but that was a very sad day. But let's get to this. So President-elect Joe Biden, again, if you guys, whether you think he's still going to be president or not, who cares? We're here for the trains. I just said that. Gee, we're here for the trains. We are here for the trains. All right. Nominate former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg to be his Secretary of Transportation. The transition team announced on Tuesday. Again, I'm not quite sure why they'll pick Pete Buttigieg. He did work in, from what I've heard, in advocacy of getting double tracks over to the South Shore rail line to connect over to Chicago and whatnot, and to open up the rail line over there, and to also help out the bus transportation over there. Maybe he would help out here. Again, definitely, I think it's gonna be better than anybody better than really Mitch McConnell's wife. Of all people, to be honest, and I'm very disappointed in Elaine Chao. She's been absolutely not really the best of all of Department of Transportation secretaries. She hasn't said anything public about Brightline or TCR or anything like that, but she goes on and talks about the Hyperloop. That's once you talk about the Hyperloop, you have no more clout. Your intelligence level just to me is just room temperature level. At that point, if you're talking about the Hyperloop in any serious manner. But let's see what this is. So Mayor Pete is a patriot and problem solver who speaks to the best of who we are as a nation, Biden said in a statement. Regardless, I don't know if he was on drugs or not, but let's see. This position stands at the nexus of so many of the interlocking challenges and opportunities ahead of us. Jobs, infrastructure, equity, and climate all come together at the DOT, the site of our most ambitious plans to build back better. Build back better. Well, just fix our freaking country, for God's sakes. I trust Mayor Pete to lead this work with focus, decency, and a bold vision. He will bring people together and get things done. All right. So they introduced him on Wednesday, and it was pretty nice. From what I saw, again, as you would think about it. So it's it's a lot of pomp and circumstance. But let's see. Could be a high visibility post for the 38-year-old Buttigieg. Yeah, he's pretty young for a politician. If Biden follows through on his campaign promises to rebuild the nation's infrastructure. On his transition website, Biden said he will work to create millions of good union jobs, rebuilding America's crumbling infrastructure, from roads and bridges to green spaces and water systems to electricity grids and universal broadband, to lay a new foundation for sustainable growth, compete in the global economy, withstand the impacts of climate change, and improve public health, including access to clean water and clean air. Again, this is all stuff we would. I agree with it. Yeah, perfect. That's fine. Okay. Well, let's see the results, because last time you guys didn't do much of anything. So let's see. I'll see it when I see it. He vows to provide. Okay, this is the other one I'm gonna talk about. He vows to provide every American city with 100,000 or more residents with high-quality, zero-emissions public transportation options that would include, quote, improving existing transit and bus lines to installing infrastructure for pedestrians and bicyclists. Okay, I think that's fair. Anything with over 100,000, have a robust bus system. The last place I was in Columbus, Indiana, had maybe a population of 50, 60,000 people. And they had a pretty okay bus system. I've got to say, it was not bad. Again, not really the bus, and they were testing out, I think, electrical buses and of course diesel buses, because again, Cummins is the Lord and the Lord and Fife of the town there, but that's what it is. We got a super chat over here. GN, awesome. Thoughts on bus rapid transportation. Actually, that's actually a good question here. It only works, in my opinion, one, if it connects to other public transportation, and or two, located in a moderately or small town or city. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay, and I can speak about this, pretty much. Holly, what are you doing? Contest announcement. Okay, the new president is going to build line across the U.S. Submit suggestions for a new line. Tell him. You guys want to new contest? I don't know. I got an idea. We're gonna do a contest over here. I think we'll do a contest over here. Testing your guys' knowledge. Because we had some really nice music. Hint, hint. Going about. If you guys remember about trains, of course. But let's keep going on over here. Again, much will depend on the will of Congress. President Trump also pledged to improve the nation's infrastructure, but never follow through with lawmakers. Again, the big problem that we see is that it just keeps getting worse. The divide between Republicans and Democrats, even though they're basically sort of the same uniparty, they really just, in a sense, the only results we've seen from them is that they'll go ahead and move heaven and earth to go and fund billions of dollars to the airlines or to big businesses or to GM like Obama did back in 2009. $40 billion of GM, and they still haven't paid it off, and they'll never will. Okay, so don't go knocking over to Detroit and knocking on GM's door and say, hey, you owe me $10 billion, because they're not gonna pay you. They'll probably send Ed 209 to please leave the premises. I don't know. I've been having a whole lot of 80s and cyberpunk jokes because again this hot mess came out recently, and this is what's been sucking my time the last week. It's still good. It's just a mess. I'm kind of disappointed, but I'm still pretty impressed by the scope of the city. If they only added more customization and stuff like that. But hey, back to trains. That's what we're doing. Let me see. Okay, the rest of this is just let's go on to the next one. So I think, look, if he can be able to do the job, that's perfectly fine. Funny enough, yeah, I got the console version, but I have a PS4 Pro. Okay, so it actually runs pretty well. I'm thinking maybe I was playing the game, so I'm like, maybe I should live stream some of this, and I said, well, you know what, channel's not for kids anyway. Maybe I should do that on my other channel or whatnot. But some of these bugs are hilarious. I mean, me and Holly were just laughing our butts off with some of the glitches and bugs that were happening. At least the glitches and bugs are funny. That's it. Let me see. We got over here. Eric Gustafson. Our state is wasting money on an induced demand-filled bridge tunnel extension. Citizens against railroad care expansion. Oh God. CARE is back at it again. Oh, man. Should we vote DeSantis out of Florida in 2022? Probably. Nothing's gonna really happen with that. Excuse me. Nothing's. He's not really attacking Brightline or anything like that. I've said before. In my opinion, I think he's been doing a job well done as governor. To be honest. And let's say Buttigieg. Okay, if let's say this happens, and January 21st, Biden is president. And Buttigieg is DOT secretary, okay? If he's able to go ahead, and he's not going to make anything done. He's not going to go over there and start hammering anything, or all of a sudden in 4 years is going to be a wide plan. But at least pushing the FRA and getting them to fix up the Northeast Corridor. Okay, that's a very big number one. Fix up the Northeast Corridor. Get the rest of all these railroads to enable and get PTC online and on and running, and start funding regular instead of just funding just roads and airlines, actually start splitting it off to transit and and rail, which we will get to in a while. Speaking of, so this is an actual other big thing that we talked about. So this just recently came out, I think last week. Pathway forward for ultra high speed travel in Pacific Northwest. I talked about this about maybe like a year or two ago about the ultra high speed rail. It's just high speed rail, guys. But this is up in the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, which again I'm not familiar with because I've never been to the Pacific Northwest. I have a cousin that lives in Oregon, but never been there myself. Okay, so a new report, the 2020 Framework for the Future, sets forth a roadmap for continued work in a post-coup future to bring ultra-high-speed ground transportation to the Pacific Northwest. The report builds on previous studies conducted over the past 3 years. Again, I think this was like 3 years ago when I remember this. Jesus, time flies. And details next steps on governance, strategic outreach, and funding and financing. It was released Tuesday, December 8th, and submitted to the executive and legislative branches of Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia, offering travel time of less than an hour between each major city at speeds of up to 250 miles an hour. Okay, maybe it is ultra high speed rail, but and 20 to 30 trips per day. The new system would link the metropolitan areas of Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver in British Columbia, while also offering connections to stations in between and beyond. Uniting this mega region could transform the Pacific Northwest by improving overall mobility, boosting economic growth, and significantly decreasing greenhouse gas emissions by 6 million metric tons. If some of you are probably going to be asking in the comments, is this the one that Bill Gates was funding or something like that? It's related to it, but if I search up Bill Gates over here on the page, it doesn't come up. He's I don't know if he still has any plans for it, but let's see. Give me 1 second, because let me see. GN, I think I almost was gonna answer your question because I just forgot about it. I went, you know how I am. I'm just over like 300 billion things in my head. But when it comes to bus rapid transportation, like we have here in Indianapolis, we have Indigo. We have the Red Line, which is actually pretty good. I've actually ridden on it a couple times. Just by myself and just gone on there. It's like, hey, see, whenever I've seen it gone on there. In the areas that we do have it, and it's in pretty highly populated and popular areas within the city, so I think it's a good idea that they've done it. The reason why sometimes bus rapid transportation is necessary is because there's laws that either they're going to restrict having actual rail lines or building rail lines in the city, which we actually have here in Indianapolis. The legislature a while back basically made it as difficult as possible to make rail lines here for rapid rail transportation or streetcars. They basically made it impossible. So Indigo went the route of doing bus rapid transportation. And the cool thing about it is that they're all electric. It doesn't look as nice as a train. It doesn't run as nice as a train. But you know what? It's pretty nice. It is pretty nice. Yeah, and sometimes, hey, BRT systems, if they're done right, they work because they, go in lieu with the actual regular bus lines that you have there. And they actually prop up the bus line as themselves. Because most bus systems here in the United States, they're not that good, and they get a very bad rap. For a lot of them for good reasons. I mean, some of it is pathetic in a sense, Eric. Like in Miami, where like 25% of all bus drivers over there are not even, working the day they need to. It's insane. They're just skipping out and probably going to the beach there in Miami and drinking Corona or something. The beer, not the... Yeah, done wrong, they look like fake streetcars. And streetcars are done pretty poorly here in the United States, too. Okay, so I've gone to Oklahoma City, and I've gone to Tampa, and Ybor City in Tampa. The streetcars in both those cities are they look pretty. Tampa's a very nice, retro, looking one from, the 1910s and whatnot. And the BRT system in Oklahoma is very futuristic looking, and it's very, something you would see in Europe. The problem with the both of them is that they stop at red lights. Okay, what the heck is the whole point of a train following the same laws as a car? That just eliminates the whole purpose of it. It's stupid. Very stupid. Indianapolis is a very car culture city. Which, funny enough, Indianapolis is actually known as Railroad City, or was known as Railroad City. It had the first Union Station here, and we had an extensive network of streetcars before they were bought out and, turned to buses. But hey, that's the way things roll over here. So this is pretty good. Back to here where we're going in the Pacific Northwest, and I know we have several of you that live over in the Pacific Northwest. Earlier studies estimated that the ultra-high-speed system could generate $355 billion in economic growth and more than 200,000 family wage jobs. Again, a lot of times when, studies go with this, they always usually overemphasize and exaggerate a lot of this. And again, take it with a grain of salt, but, yes, they do bring in a lot of economic growth. And we've seen this time and time again in other places around the world. Again, when it comes to China, there was one study I remember in China reading about. And again, when you read anything that happens in China, you always take that with a grain of salt. But they've seen this, the same study did this in other places as well, that they've seen the economic, I'm trying to think of the term, the economic prosperity. I wouldn't say prosperity, but the economy, the total economy there rose by about 10%, mostly due to the high-speed rail line that was opened down in Shanghai, in that area. In the Shanghai area, the economy rose up by 10%, mainly due to the high-speed rail line. So, do these things happen? Absolutely. And there's no doubt that most of the time when they do happen, they usually contribute to the economy. They don't detract from it. How can you say it's going to detract from the economy when it's only opening up for movement to get people from point A to point B a lot easier, and to open up the options for people to get around? Especially a much cleaner, faster, safer option. And much more convenient too, instead of driving a car everywhere. Even though, look, if you want to drive a car, that's fine. I love cars. But, sometimes you just don't want to be in a car half the time. Again, so let's see where this study goes, because we have a problem with doing studies all the time here in this country too, but let's see. So here's the article. Here's the article that we were talking about before in the comments. Abbott gives support to high-speed rail line in a letter to the Japanese government. In a letter, the Japanese Prime Minister, Governor Abbott, expressed his full support for Texas Central and urged Japan to complete its final negotiations. The railroad does not yet have permission from the federal government to begin construction. Again, it's usually the FRA that's always behind this, because they're falling asleep half the time. It's fairly sad. Let me get a little parch my throat here. Oh man, the FRA just drives you to drink. Governor Greg Abbott recently claimed in a letter to Prime Minister Yoshida Suga of Japan that the Dallas to Houston Texas Central high-speed rail project has his full support and is ready to start construction. Okay, so here you go. You have a Republican governor, a very well-known Republican governor, Greg Abbott. By the way, there's a whole lot of people. I'm pretty sure you've seen this all in the news. A whole lot of people that are moving to Texas, especially from California. Let me see. Greg, did I see the update on the story? Though, I haven't seen the update on it. I don't even know if this has an update over here. Maybe this does have it over here. Okay, yeah, we do have it over here. There's an update over here. So he did pull the letter. Is that what we're saying? Let's see. Let's go through this and see. Okay, so gave the Texas high-speed rail Texas Central Railway his full support, which is, again, that's very good. So we're moving forward over here. This is very good to see. In this letter dated October 2nd, Abbott expressed his desire that final negotiations with Japan be completed soon, and that the Japanese contact the Texas Economic Development Corporation, very much like the FDFC down in Florida, which is the Florida Development Finance Committee, which helped to get Brightline up and running. Or not up and running, but help them get the funds to get up and running, to get those private activity bonds, to get them. Same thing, probably, Texas is probably going the same route for available assistance. Tex EDC is chaired by Drayton McLean Jr., who is also chairman of Texas Central Railroad. Well, talking about connections. People will say that, look at that. There's a connection between, the Texas Economic Development Corporation and Texas Central Railway. How many lobbyists do you have from the rail lines? Not from the rail lines, from the airlines. I said airlines. From the airlines and from the oil lobbies over there, and having these very lucrative positions in Congress and whatnot. Hey, it goes both ways, and we should be playing the same way too. McLean has given over $1.66 million in political contributions to Abbott since 2010. And that's another way to do it too. I think that's a very now we see why. Tex EDC is a public-private partnership that worked closely with the governor's office to promote Texas as a business location, while helping business understand and take advantage of tax incentives, grants, and financing options available to them. Yes, this is very good. Okay, so this is fantastic. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Okay, seeing this type of stuff, seeing the connections that we have, here in Texas between Governor Abbott and the Economic Finance Committee that they have over there, that's very good. Okay, that just basically cements the amount of of support that you're going to be able to get, not just from the governor, but also from some very other powerful organizations and some other businesses over there that have connections to Tex EDC. So that's very good. Again, you know, I'm very, very giddy about this project. I do think this is probably going to be one of the biggest projects when it does get done. Well, I mean, let's see. Maybe Brightline will get first to Las Vegas. I don't know. We'll see. Those will be the two first real high-speed rail lines in America. So McLean issued a letter in April to State Senator Robert Nichols, Republican of Jacksonville, which acknowledged that the railroad was having financial difficulties and was relying on funding from the Japanese government. Well, yeah, it's not the American government, at least, right? And Japanese are willing to go ahead and, you know, pile up the cash for it. I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, at least we get some help instead of, you know, sending our money over to other countries to, you know, to blow them up or, you know, for nation building, as we call it. It appears from filings in several Texas counties along the planned route that Texas Central began transferring property interests known as deeds of trust to the Japanese holding company in the Cayman Islands this summer. Most companies have a holding, especially large companies in the Cayman Islands, you know, in order to avoid get a lot of tax breaks there. That happens, okay? It's, again, so what? If they're, you know, some people are going to say, oh, they're playing dirty, look what they're doing. I don't care. I don't care anymore. This is what we need to do. The other interest, the other side is going to continue to play dirty, you know, and then when we play dirty, they accuse us of playing dirty. No. Punch back. That's what we got to do. This is good. The FRA does not... Okay, so this is the problem over here. Abbott asserts in his letter that the railway has received all necessary permits to begin construction. But this is contrary to the Federal Railroad Administration. You know, I'm starting to see... I don't know if you guys have been starting to see a pattern, but there's sort of a pattern over here. That the FRA continues to be against passenger railroads in the United States of America. Now, granted, there's a lot more of freight railroad interest in the FRA. That's really what most of their focus has morphed in within the last 50 years or so. They've really turned much more into protecting the interests of freight railroads, which is perfectly fine. But they're being very antithetical against, well, I'm saying they're kind of being the antithesis here to actual passenger rail lines. Which, why? You know, why? You're supposed to be the Federal Railroad Administration. You're supposed to be helping this to happen, not being against this. Why? Recently issued, this is contrary to the Federal Railroad Administration, recently issued final rule regulating the safety of Texas Central Railway. FRA does not grant any kind of construction approval or permit. Neither does this final rule by itself grant any permission or authority for Texas Central Railroad to operate, the official rule states. That should be rescinded. Whoever's made that statement, or whoever's responsible for that statement, should just step down. State Representative Ben Lehman, Republican of Brenham, pointed out the inaccuracy of the governor's statement. The truth is, Texas Central Rail has not received all the necessary permits to begin construction or operation, he said. All right. Oh, so this is the guy. Yeah, this is one of the guys. I think he has Ben Lehman. He's a representative here in one of these counties. I think this is the guy that was. He was very tied and connected to the oil industry. I remember we did a video on that. This was the guy, I believe. So Lehman represents portions of Brazos Valley through which the railroad is planned on its route from Dallas to Houston. Representative Kevin Brady, Republican of Texas of the 8th District, also clarified that Texas Central is not ready for construction when responding to the governor's letter. So again, they're ticked off. A lot of these are just, you know, NIMBYs and, you know, a lot of other interests that are playing into this over here. Now, there was an update to this story I'm getting here from Greg. Let me see. Texas Central Railway. Let's see. Letter. DuckDuckGo isn't really too good for getting news. Google does a heck of a lot better with that, but hey, it's what it is. Railway, Abbott, letter. Okay, so here we are. All right. So this is a good article here, I think. Just skimming through it. What was behind Greg Abbott's bullet train flip-flop? I don't know if you guys can see the end over there. Also lacking Surface Transportation Board approval too. I think no, I don't know. Correct me here if I'm wrong, guys. I think we did get approval, Surface Transportation Board approval for Texas. I'm not quite sure. All right, let's go through here. Abbott's letter, however, sparked a firestorm among some of his longtime supporters. Even before the governor expressed support for the rail project, Meyer said her circle of friends became increasingly wary of him because they believed he was pandering to liberal interests by imposing restrictions on some business during the early days of the pandemic. What does the pandemic have to do with the... Oh, God. I don't know where these people come up with this. Again, and for those of you who are like the diehard Trump supporters or whatnot, it's really the fault of the Republican Party that he's not going to be president anymore. GOP is a whole bunch of freaking sackless traitors in my opinion. They've been for a long time, and that's part of the reasons why we never get anything done over here. One party is always distracted by a whole bunch of other things. The other party is just weak. So 4 days after Abbott penned his letter, his staff walked back his support. Speaking of weak. Telling the Dallas Morning News that the governor intended to reevaluate his position out of concerns for Texans' property rights and because he was provided with incomplete information about the project. This is just ridiculous. Is it ridiculous? I think Drayton McLean, he's got to give him another $1 million after this. Maybe he'll change his mind. Maybe he'll flip again. I don't know. It's unbelievable. This is how government works, guys. You think I'm joking, but this is how government works, okay? I've been in the lobbyist circle. I've seen it happen. This is how it works. I'm sorry, but this is how it works. So 4 days, he went ahead and rescinded it. His initial letter had indicated the railway had already obtained all necessary permits to proceed, but in fact, it still needs to receive approval from the... Okay, so I was wrong on that. It did not get approval from the Surface Transportation Board, a federal regulatory agency. How many approvals does this need to get? We need Surface Transportation Board approval. We need FRA approval. It's just insane. Abbott's office did not make clear whether staff, pro-rail lobbyists, or another party had provided the information that allegedly misled him. Let's be honest. We know where he got the information from. Okay, I'm just being fair. Is it right? Yeah. For us, yes. I don't care. That's why. Go back over here. So many tabs. This is always how I run my Google Chrome. It's just dying. Death by over tabs here. So the governor intended to reevaluate his position because he was provided with incomplete information about the project. Meaning he's bringing it back because he has no he lacks the cojones. His initial letter had indicated the railway had... Okay, I already read that. Abbott's office did not make clear whether staff, pro-rail lobbyists, or another party had provided the information that allegedly misled him. Nor did it respond to multiple requests for an interview about why he wrote the letter and later walked it back. Texas Central also declined multiple requests for interview about Abbott's reversal. With the loss of the governor's support, the train's future faces new hurdles. Texas Central now lacks a strong advocate to ward against pending anti-high-speed rail bills in the upcoming legislative session, and the company has lost a prominent voice asking investors to keep money flowing. Do I think this is really going to stop it? I don't think so. What Abbott's probably going to do at this point, he's just probably going to keep quiet. That's what it is. He's probably going to keep quiet. Why did I highlight McLean? So this is what this article is probably going to. It's like, they're not quite sure where he got his information from. It's obvious that McLean is, a very big supporter of Abbott and donated to Abbott and said, hey, I'm also running this rail line that I want to get here as a high-speed rail line. Would you also support it? I'm giving you $1.6 million. So that's why, I'm giving you guys the truth. That's what it is. So you know how these things work in government. So when you guys go up to your own commissioner meetings and your own local Department of Transportation meetings, you can call out these people for what they're doing, okay? Because I guarantee you, when you start calling out these people start to get mad. And I've done this before in several meetings. One of them being the North Miami Beach transit meeting, where I called out half the commissioners. If you guys have seen that video, that was a while ago. They basically sent the bailiff, this 6'5", black guy, to basically, take me off the microphone and whatnot and just take it away. which was funny. The whole thing was happening, and I wasn't giving the guy any crap or whatnot. He's just doing his job, whether he agrees with it or not. The commissioners are just, they were just shaking there and sweating there, and it was just hilarious because they were just biting their nails. But yeah, actually, funny enough, one of the mayors that was there, he actually got arrested for tax fraud. So that was like the third mayor in a row for North Miami Beach to get arrested. Does the story of Miami. So let's continue on over here. Let's see. Okay, so where are we over here? This is a big sentence. In May, a victory at the Corpus Christi Court of Appeals asserted the business status as a railroad company with the power to exercise eminent domain, meaning it can require owners to sell portions of their land in return for a reasonable price, which is fair. Though that ruling may be appealed by the state Supreme Court. Could that be possible? I doubt it, because the state Supreme Court, they're going to be setting a very terrible precedent if that happens. Not just for private businesses, but also if the government itself wants to go ahead and build anything between an electric pole or roads or anything like that. But of course, they'll go ahead and bend their own rules for themselves. This fall, the project received approval from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Railroad Administration. Okay, wait, were we saying, did it get approval or didn't it get approval? And Governor Greg Abbott wrote a letter to the Japanese government, a key investor of the project, voicing his support. Okay. No, I just scrolled up. That's what happened. Okay. So again, this is a whole mess what's going on here in Texas. I still think they're going to get it through. I don't doubt it. They'll probably get it through. But that's what it is. Let me look in the comments here because I've been going back and forth. Fridge, Abbott is a snake, just like DeSantis. Most of these politicians are snakes. To be honest, they didn't have support from Abbott before, yeah. And they survived the congressional challenges last year, so is losing it bad at all? I don't think so. I really don't. Honestly, what I see here is just Abbott is just, freaking out because he may lose, the big oil lobbies. So he's just not publicly saying anything anymore. But he'll probably, help to approve it in the sidelines. I don't doubt it. You're probably not going to see that in news, but I still think Texas Central Railway is going to be perfectly fine. Again, especially with the amount of business going into Texas, with the amount of businessmen going into Texas as well. Elon Musk moved over to Texas. A whole bunch of people moving to Texas. Joe Rogan and a whole bunch of others. That's another person who I'm very disappointed at. Joe Rogan is a big, giant, freaking sellout. He was doing a lot better, and then he just completely sold out of Spotify. That was terrible. Anyway, so let's go back to Florida over here. We're jumping back and forth over here in the South. Fortress returns to the money market, this time for Florida trade. So again, just be careful with this article over here. Less than 2 months after failing, you see there's no context over here. After failing to sell $2.4 billion of unrated municipal debt for the Las Vegas tourist train. First of all, Bloomberg, okay, they didn't fail. They moved it back because it's a pretty terrible market right now, if anybody would notice. It's pretty bad right now, especially with with the amount of cases going up or whatnot. Again, whether you guys think this is real or whatnot, or whether the virus is real, okay? Was it as bad as I thought it was gonna be? No. And funny enough, I was the first, one of the first people out in in February and January coming out and saying, maybe we should prepare for this. And everybody's saying, no, it's fine. Go to Chinatown and have fun. Everybody's great. Everything's fine. Masks are bigoted. Just wash your hands and whatnot. That's all. And now we're all staying at home and have no jobs. So that's the way the world works. Am I bitter there? Probably. I don't know. Let's just hope it's not under government control. What rail lines connect Jacksonville? Okay. I'm getting back and forth here with context between what's going on in the comments and going into the articles over here, guys. Quote unquote cases, but people becoming skeptical about the Pfizer vaccines. Again, I'm not gonna go into it. If you know me, you know me. You know what I say about it. Okay, so back to here. So Fortress is back in the market, this time for a smaller deal for the inaugural rail in Florida. So now they're raising money now for more of the extensions over here in Florida. Through its company Brightline Holdings LLC, Fortress on Thursday is planning to sell $950 million of unrated tax-exempt bonds. Debt bonds, it's the same thing. With proceeds financing the train's extension to Orlando from West Palm Beach. Last year, it sold $1.75 billion for the country's first new privately financed intercity passenger rail in a century. Launched in 2018 along Florida's East Coast. Again, this is a very big deal. The train missed passenger revenue forecast even before the coronavirus pandemic forced it to suspend operations in March. We already knew that. Again, they already said they were gonna have lower than expected before, because once they open up to Orlando, that's when they're gonna recoup, most of their money. Again, it's probably gonna take them 10 years or so. We saw this in Japan with the first Shinkansen. They were able to go ahead and recoup most of their losses within 10 years when they opened the first line between Tokyo and Osaka with the first Hikari. And it says more revenue, on the Tokaido line. It says more revenue is likely from fees paid by Miami-Dade County, which wants to use the corridor for a separate commuter service. And that's what they're working in conjunction with Miami-Dade County in order to open up that commuter service. Which is good. Again, you have a private company working with the government, a local government, in order to provide a service for the people, which that works out fine. Having a public-private partnership. It projects 9.9 million passengers and 792 million in revenue in 2024, its first full year of complete operations, or almost 4 times the average revenue per passenger seen in 2009. Again, as long as we see this keep going up, that'll be perfectly fine. And again, quarter 3 is pretty slow. Quarter 4 is, and quarter 1 is, basically the holidays. And then quarter 1 was cut short because of the coup. So again, we see this, in aggregate going up. That's the most important thing, And again, they only have, this is their first 3 lines, If we saw, can I open this up? Why are you putting an expand button over here if I can't expand this? Fix your garbage, Bloomberg. Come on. Okay, there we go. Now, so I look at this, guy. So I have to click the image, not this. If I click this, it doesn't expand. If I click the image, then it expands. What a broken website. So here we go. Again, in aggregate, we're seeing Brightline going up in revenue. Okay, if this was such a failure, it would be flat. Okay, then I would be saying, okay, maybe Brightline didn't do so well, but it's not. Okay, quarter 1, 2018. That's when it opened up. Quarter 2. Quarter 3, quarter 4, quarter 1, okay? And then it just slowed down a bit and started coming up again, okay? Because we had a bit of an economic slowdown over here. Because again, we have mini slowdowns and mini bumps, but that's what it is. And then it was trying to come up. It probably would have gone a little bit higher in quarter 1 over here. Probably a little bit more than quarter 1 in 2019, but it probably would have been a little bit higher over here for 2020 if it was not for the pandemic. So service in March 2020 was first reduced and then suspended because of the pandemic. Okay, there we go. And that's March is the end of quarter 1. So again, Brightline is making money, or is going to make money. Imagine when this opens up to Orlando. Okay, anybody with any sound business sense will look at this and say, well, this looks like it's gone to something good. Okay, Amazon didn't make money for the longest of time. Neither did Apple, neither did Samsung, nor did so many other companies when they first started. Okay? All these big, giant private companies now, these big mega corporations were basically, not making any money. Amazon, until maybe around 2015 or 2016, did not have a plus year. They didn't have a year in the black. So, this is pretty good. All right. I know we're talking about Colorado over here in the comments, Axe Char, so that's what we're getting into over here. So the Front Range Rail projects. Funny enough, that was the next article over here on the next tab. The Front Range Rail project gets a rough $2 billion price tag as RTD looks to jump on board. So this is pretty good. So we're seeing projects opening up in so many other places of the country. This is a good thing. Especially with this generation, we're finally starting to get into more rail projects, okay, with this generation. And again, our generation has been royally screwed over in so many things. I'm trying to find, what was that one? There was a graph that I had, and there was an article and a study that I was looking at. It was at least 20 pages or so. But in the study, it looked at millennials versus every other generation, and how much control of the market they had by a certain age. So millennials now, the median age for millennials is around mid 30s, early 30s or whatnot. Okay, I fall in the the late end of millennials, and Darius is falls in the early end of a of a Zoomer. So I'm more toward like the millennial side. But here's the thing. Millennials don't even control they don't even control like I was like 1 or 2% of the economy. That's how poor we are compared to boomers in the same age when they were having it nice and high and high on cocaine in the 80s and driving top down sports cars that were like $10,000. They had like 30% of the economy. So we've been royally messed up over here. Again, whoever the blame it is, the results are in. We've been screwed over here, but we're trying to fix it. Okay, we're taking control over it sooner or later. More control. We have some control now, but we're taking more and more now. Okay, so we'll get there. So let's see over here. So the front range could be a modest one. 2 to 6 round trips a day between Fort Collins and Colorado Springs on trains traveling an average of 45 miles per hour per day, mostly on existing freight rail tracks. So again, very similar to Tri-Rail and a couple of other commuter rails that we see, heavy rail commuters like a lot of these other trains, a lot of these other companies over in the rest of the United States. So this could cost $1.5 to $2.5 billion, according to a draft report presented to the Front Range Passenger Rail Commission on Friday. The second phase would add service between Colorado Springs and Pueblo at a cost of $200 million to $300 million. Again, this is pretty good, and again, this approach allows for starter service. Yes, that's it's a start. That's the good thing. As long as we have something over here for people to at least use, and even if you're not using it, to at least witness and say, hey, there's another option we can use. We don't have to drive in the car all the time on the highways. We can just take the train, and we don't have to drive. We can just sit on here, eat, drink, relax, and have a bite to eat. Like I'm gonna have one of these Domino's brownies over here. I needed a little bit of a break. All right, let's keep going over here. Let me see. Let's go in the comments for a little bit over here. Do you know if the Brightline Disney station will be connected to the monorail? The answer for that Ashgar is going to be no. They're not going to connect it to the monorail. The monorail doesn't go anywhere near Disney Springs or what was downtown Disney. Yes, we are getting things done. It's not fast, but it's sufficient, and that's the main goal for Colorado. Yeah, that's true. Again, people going out and saying, to get this, this giant project or these maps of, nationalized and connected high-speed rail lines, it's not going to happen anytime soon, okay? We're lucky if we're able to get, most of these regional rails. We're lucky if by the end of this decade that we have Texas, Florida, and Brightline over Brightline West running by the end of this decade. Probably not California, but let's see whatever California's doing, which they're doing, at least good there, getting people, working at least. They have 3,000, full-time jobs or so, which we'll go ahead and look at that as well. They won an award for it, which if they, for sustainability, but I wouldn't be giving awards to projects unless they're done. But that's just me. So again, the commission's long-term vision is for a much faster, more frequent, and costlier line stretching from Cheyenne, Wyoming, to Trinidad and perhaps points south. Speeds would top out at 90 to 110 miles per hour on newly laid tracks. Trains would run every 30 minutes at peak times, and it would cost between $7.8 and $14.2 billion. So again, this is a start. And as if they at least get something running, and again, the picture that you see over here is the Denver Union Station. Which is beautiful, by the way. If you guys have seen pictures or videos of Denver's Union Station, it is an absolutely beautiful station. They've done a fantastic job of revamping it and making it a place that people would, not even if you don't want to get on a train, just to go ahead and look at it. It's pretty great. If we had bullet trains, a brownie would come in a Shinkansen bento box. I know that would be good. I miss those. I mean, the way that they just package stuff in Japan. I just love it. Just opening up stuff is like Christmas every day. Or you get like Christmas 4 times in a row because you're opening up 4 different wrapping pages. Which again, it gets a little annoying after a while. But it's nice to open up things that are nicely packaged. It gives a nice air about it. So let's go into this because this piqued my interest about a week ago or so when I saw it. And again, it's nice words, but let's see what happens. Let's see the results of it. I think this could work if it actually is. So this is a bill by 3 Democrats. Again, it doesn't matter, who the parties are because they're basically the same. But at least at this, they're trying to go ahead and up the ante for rail lines and get them to be on even footing, and as well as transit to be on even footing with other forms of transportation like roads and airlines. So this is good. So you at least have a 50-50 split in terms of funding. So this is the American High-Speed Rail Act. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This is for another article, I believe. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so what I was talking about 50-50 was the Transit Parity Resolution. I got them mixed up. Okay, so this is the American High-Speed Rail Act. So the bill, a blueprint for national high-speed rail, received the endorsements of national transportation advocates and leaders. So this is from Seth Moulton, Representative Seth Moulton of Massachusetts 6th District, a Democrat, introduced the American High-Speed Rail Act, which would invest $205 billion. And that's a good amount, I think, if they can get $205 billion, to do that, into high-speed rail, create at least 2.6 million direct American jobs over 5 years, and provide Americans with a new travel option that's safer than driving, cleaner than flying, and never delayed by weather. It's delayed by very, very harsh weather, which he's got a point over there. It's not never delayed by weather, but it's a lot harder to down a train. Let's put it this way: the tolerances to fly a plane in a blizzard or some very inclement weather, like heavy snow or heavy rain or whatnot, or thunder and lightning, that downs planes very easily. Okay, all the planes are grounded. You're not gonna get any flights over there. Trains are the last thing to basically stop, and we've seen this in, let's say, Hurricane Sandy in New York, several years ago. We've seen this in multiple blizzards that have happened in the Northeast. The last form of transportation to stop and come to a halt because of inclement weather were the trains, was Amtrak. Okay, so again, it's another form of transportation that's a lot more robust in terms of inclement weather. High-speed rail is faster, cleaner, safer, better for economy. Again, talking to the choir, this is stuff we already know. It will connect people to more jobs and new places, give Americans freedom and choice in how they travel, and put us on par with the rest of the world. That's another big thing, okay? At least giving us, having our infrastructure at least to a first world country standard. This bill is the plan that will get us there. We spend vast amounts of money subsidizing planes, which are delayed by weather and roads, which I just said, which are crumbling nationwide. We have the chance coming out of this pandemic to think big and think differently. Let's not waste the opportunity. And again, this is stuff that, what I just said, 20-something-year-old is saying what a politician is basically saying. I need to get a little bit more jolly over here. I'm not. This is not helping me. It's I usually get a little bit more jolly, but this isn't. I don't know. Just the articles, the FRA stuff really just really busted me right there. Let's see. How is Amtrak doing as connections go? That's from Adam. In what context? What are we talking about, like in connections? Are we talking about for the bus connections that Amtrak usually runs? Let me see. Freight rail monopolies are awful. Some are all right. Some of them are just pretty bad. Like CSX, they're not a bad company. It's just that they're stuck doing the same thing in business as usual as they had been for the last 40 or so years that they merged with the Chesapeake and Seaboard. Let me see. Interesting. Moulton was a former employee of TCR. Says so on his campaign website. Interesting. That's very interesting. How did he get from Texas to Massachusetts, though? That's a kind of a big jump there. And everything in terms of weather and in terms of politics. That'd be interesting. Let's see if we can probably get him on the show or something. I don't know. Let's see. A lot of these guys are pretty busy, or some of them pretend to be busy. I don't know. Again, I'd like to give everybody, an open platform or whatnot. Or speaking of, by the way, did you guys enjoy last week's interview that we had with Rick Harnish? How many of you enjoyed it? Just say if you enjoyed it in the comments. Just say, yeah, I enjoyed it, or say yes or whatnot. Let's get that there. By the way, we did get a gift. Speaking of early gifts from Mr. Harnish from the High Speed Rail Alliance. So I told them that I misplaced the poster that I had. I don't know if you guys have seen it. You guys have probably seen it. The ICE3 coming out of Indianapolis, the poster that they had for the when it was the Midwest High Speed Rail Association. They haven't changed the name on the poster, but we did get a very nice poster back, and he just sent it to us. So that's very nice from him. Again, he's a fantastic guy. That guy's doing a lot of good work. So thank you, Rick, and thank you everybody there at the High Speed Rail Alliance for all the work that you're doing. Here, not just here in the Midwest, but for the rest of the country. So that's the type of stuff that we want, and we'll get more interviews and probably bring him onto the show, and we can have a live stream with him. That would be great. Let's see if we can work that in the schedule. But definitely, that's going to be going up right over here. I'm going to put that over here. So I may need to move the camera to move a little bit more into there, but that'll be fine. We need some more train stuff up here. And then I got like some of you have asked, what's the topographic map that I have over here? That's funny enough, I just found this over here when we moved into here. It's Rome, Georgia. But the reason why I put it up there is because it's got Chattanooga, Tennessee up on there. And me and Holly have driven through there. It's a very nice drive. That's probably the last nice place that you drive when you're going down south. Very nice. I love driving through the hills and driving through Chattanooga and, to the hills of like Tennessee and northern Georgia. Once you get to southern Georgia, it starts to get like Florida and it gets flat and ugly and it's very boring to drive. So this is good. So what are we talking about in this bill? Investing $41 billion annually in high-speed rail and higher speed rail through grants administered by the Federal Railroad Administration. we're going to have to clean house in the FRA if we're going to have to do this, because they'll probably just just never move the money. With incentives for $38 billion or more in non-federal funding. Probably will be most, it's again, we see what's going on. Most likely the Republicans are probably going to keep the Senate. I don't think they're gonna lose the Senate there, especially with the anger that has gone on. I don't know. Maybe they'll lose again in Georgia or something. I don't know. Everything is up in the air. But what we do know is that the Republicans got more seats in the House of Representatives this time around when they thought they were gonna lose seats. So there's definitely, again, this election was very weird, and there's a lot of reasons why. I'm not gonna get too much into it. But the chances of things like this happening, of at least getting the approval, here's the point. Getting the at least approval for money from both the House and the Senate is going to prove difficult if the Senate is still the Republican Senate. So in order to get the funding there for the Federal Railroad Administration, even to get the funding for them, because the funding will probably go to the DOT, and then the DOT will just go ahead and just do the same thing again, regardless if Pete Buttigieg is the secretary for the DOT. Again, there's already processes, and there are already people who are there, the bureaucrats who are working there, whether you want to call them the deep state or not, or whatever name you want to give them, the career people who are working in these organizations and these these departments or whatnot, or administrations, they have been run the same way for the last 20, 30, 40 years. They're not going to stop going that way. That's why we need to get start getting in more people into there, and not a revolving door where somebody leaves the FRA and goes into right down the street on K Street and joins a lobbyist firm, and now they're one of their big clients that they go ahead and have lunch with is somebody from BP, or that's what we're talking about. So here we go. Expanding metrics used by states and cities for transportation planning, so they include the potential wider economic benefit projects returned to the community, in addition to the immediate important economic and environmental considerations they currently require to consider. The only problem I have with this is that the EPA, the EPA approvals take way too long. Okay, we don't need an EIS study that takes 3 years. Okay. We know trains are better environmentally. Why does there need to be 3 years of thinking and interviewing people and other consultants in order to make sure to go ahead in 3 years and say the obvious? Yes, this train will be of a benefit to the environment. That's basically 50 pages of an EIS study, just put down in one page. This will be better for the surrounding. And when they say environment, it's not just the happy plants and trees and the fishies. They're also talking about, the rest of the economy in a sense. That's what the EIS studies are also looking at, or other, the environment as a whole. That's what they're looking at. Creating funding and flexibility for transit-oriented development incentives for non-federal partners. That's another good thing. Again, this is all very good stuff in the bill. Again, there's very specific bullet points that they should just go ahead and say that we want to bring down the time frame for projects to get approval. That would be going in. Instead of just throwing money at the problem, how about we actually fix the problem, which is all... We've been going through different articles, and through all these articles, the big problem has been the FRA. And this is what the big problem has been. And it's been a bigger problem for the last several years that the FRA has been pushing back on a lot of these projects or taking way too long to either approve them, shuffling their feet, or not funding them at all, or saying they're not, no, oh, it doesn't have approval yet. You know, this is insane. And again, we know what will happen if high-speed rail happens. You know, everybody will be happy. We'll all sing Kumbaya, and the credits will roll. Not really, but you know, at least we'll have a much better lifestyle. Let's put it that way. And at least we'll have more jobs available for us when we have none right now. So connecting hot job markets, building walkable communities, clean and reliable, safe transportation, national transportation strategy, high-speed rail services, high-volume corridors of 750 miles. Again, this is stuff we already know. An America that is more competitive with China's use of high-speed rail and its Belt and Road Initiative. Again, that's a very important thing. We need to be... and let's be honest, China at this point, they've already run circles around us in infrastructure. Again, yes, a lot of China is very poor, but at least the outlook of them... Let's put it this way. The Chinese, as a homogenous group, are much more willing to get together on a project or either shut up or put up with a project than we are, okay? And it's not that I'm not telling people to shut up or put up. It's that we need to start putting up, or we're gonna be shut up either way, okay? So that's the problem, okay? So we might as well make ourselves better before we get taken over. If that's people who are very much afraid of China taking over in a sense, which is funny enough. Most of them tend to be the Republican Party now. Now it's now it will be 4 years of China hacked the election. Last time it was 4 years that Russia hacked the election. Now it's China hacked the election. It just never ends. The creation of new American industries such as manufacturing and high-grade steel production. Again, this is very important to have this. Again, apologies for the last. I'm trying to get away from the political comments, guys. It's just my personality. Even in communities that are far from the proposed new transportation corridors. So this is very good. Let's hope this actually, happens if this bill gets done. So Andy Coons, U.S. High-Speed Rail Association, also, committed for him. Carl Zagliar, CEO of Texas Central Rail. Brian Kelly, CEO of California High-Speed Rail. Mark Buncher, President and CEO of Siemens Mobility, who's been making, some pretty good bank with all the Siemens trains they've been selling. Rick Harnish was also on there as well. Patrick Goddard, president of Brightline. Are these comments on here for the bill? And advocates for high-speed rail weighed in on the bill. Okay. Executive Americans of Hitachi Rail, Mark and Merton. This is actually a very good interview list in a sense. I'm actually going to keep this. Print this out right now. Let me just go ahead and print that right now so I don't forget it. But let me go ahead. Yeah. Although you're probably not going to be interested in what my company does. You're welcome. Okay. I was just looking at the comments there, guys. So let me weigh on this as well. Again, high-speed rail is very important for a lot of the reasons that I listed before. But if I want to keep it succinct and to the point, we need high-speed rail for this generation in order to provide us jobs, in order to provide us another form of transportation and more options for this, and to also keep this country the best country in the world, and to keep us competitive with other countries in terms of infrastructure. When you affect high-speed rail, it goes down the path and also affecting the rest of the infrastructure in this country, okay? And it also affects roads, it also affects bridges, it also affects tunnels, and everything else in between, okay? High-speed rail is sort of the face of when people say infrastructure, it's sort of the thing that you see zooming around. It's hard to miss at 220 miles an hour or more or so. But this is the type of thing that we need in this country, okay? I absolutely agree that we should have a bill like this, okay? So there's my endorsement for the bill, all right? There we go. There's my, you guys have all heard it, 44 people right now watching this, and the thousands more that will probably watch it later on. Again, that's what I say. I agree with this. It should happen. So here we go, going to California. They received the National Award for Sustainability. So this is my press release over here. So the California High-Speed Rail Authority announced today it has received national recognition with the Envision Platinum rating for sustainability efforts. Okay, that's more fair, because if they got a sustainability award for actually pulling through, then I would be a little suspicious. But at least for the efforts, it's sort of like a participation prize. They're doing it, they're fixing it. So we're awarding them for the effort, which is good. Okay, the Envision Platinum rating is the highest level award from the Institute of Sustainable Infrastructure, and the award is the first time a program the size and complexity of the state's high-speed rail project has earned such an honor. Okay, and again, California High-Speed Rail is the biggest project envisioned in the country. Okay, is it the one that's moving the fastest? No. Is it the one that's getting the most support? Not necessarily. But is it the one that is the most ambitious of all the projects? Absolutely, it is the most ambitious project in this country. And if it actually comes to fruition, connecting all the way between Los Angeles all the way up to San Francisco, you're connecting millions of people, and hopefully maybe that will be another thing to keep people in the state of California. Let's see. So stimulating economic prosperity, providing nearly 3,000 full-time jobs, and again, they're still working during this economy, with an emphasis on job creation for people living in historically disadvantaged communities. More than 100 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced by transitioning travel away from automobiles and planes. I also had like a bottle of Fanta before this. That's another reason why I'm so burpy right now. Exceptional performance in achieving greenhouse gas emissions reductions and preparing for climate change. Again, net zero tailpipe emissions during construction through carbon sequestration projects. Again, so what they're doing is saying, all the carbon we're putting out now for construction will just, again, it doesn't really matter because most of these states don't really do it anyway. At least we know that trains are much more environmentally friendly. That's the whole end of this anyway. There's no need to go ahead and have these carbon bills and whatnot, and start paying for your own carbon footprint and whatnot. If we all do our part, there's no need for it. Including electric vehicle charging and hydrogen fuel infrastructure at rail stations. I don't know why people are still trying to push this hydrogen fuel. If hydrogen fuel has basically fallen out of favor right now. Most people are going to electric vehicles. It's you're skipping the whole. Why do I have to have a hydrogen generator on the vehicle to produce electric propulsion? Why don't they just skip ahead and just get electric? Put an electric battery on there. And just have electric motors. That's and less weight. Implementing climate adaptation techniques and planning, incorporating climate hazards into system risk analysis. Again, so a lot of good things that they're trying to do over here. Okay, targeted reductions in net embodied carbon, net reduction in air pollution emissions. Again, I really do think the bigger problem is air pollution, because that's the stuff that you can fix right now. In terms of greenhouse gases and whatnot, again, you really want to be against global warming. Talk to China and talk to India. We've done a lot to curb our clean here. Okay, it's we all share the same Earth. If you guys want to say that, so we all know that. Again, we're not dumb here. We're all pretty smart here. All right. So again, here's another article that I got over here. This is from Transportation Today. This I got yesterday. So U.S. representatives introduced the transit parity resolution. So this is the one I was talking about over here before that I got confused. So currently, Congress uses a formula set in 1982 that allocates 80% of federal transportation dollars to highways and the remaining 20% to public transit. Okay? That's a very, very terrible imbalance right here. That's a lot of the problem. The resolution calls for transit funding to be equal to highway funding. So public transit is a public good, and it's past time our government treated like one, as Presley said. That's Ayanna Presley. I guess you can say she's one of the squad too. Jesus Chue Garcia, the Democrat from Illinois. I've met him before at the high-speed rail conference last year, and Hakeem Jeffries. Again, I can agree with people like this when it comes to just this. Again, just because they're wrong 90% of the time, according to myself, doesn't mean they're not right 10% of the time at least. For too long, our federal transportation investments have prioritized highways over public transit, incentivizing travel in private cars, which increases traffic congestion, produces pollution, and exacerbates racial and economic inequality. Okay, I get what you're trying to say over here, but there's much more bigger areas, where you're gonna say, most people, they care about one thing. How much money do I have in my pocket? Am I gonna have enough to feed my kids? Am I gonna have enough to feed myself at the end of the day? Okay, that's really where all it comes down to. It's much more economic inequality rather than racial inequality in this nation. And you can see where half of these protests, where they happened, it was mostly in poorer areas. Okay, while all the rich areas where all both parties are sitting, they just basically gated up and they made sure they got police there to make sure none of the protesters got into there. But to destroy their own neighborhoods and whatnot, that's perfectly fine. Again, economic inequality is what we're trying to fix over here when it comes to passenger. And we're talking about economic inequality in a generational sense. There's a much bigger disparity in economic inequality by far, by generations. It doesn't matter which race you are, okay? If you are a black, Hispanic, millennial, you're doing a heck of a lot worse monetarily than a black or Hispanic, baby boomer, okay? Let's be honest. The resolution is supported by several transportation organizations across the country, including Transportation for America, League of Conservation Voters, Sierra Club, Natural Resources Defense Council, and again, so a lot of people support this, okay? And again, it's all about having a balance. Why can't we have a balance and say, look, transit moves a lot of people, and we see this in many other places, and even in our own history, where transit moved much of the population. It is cheaper in the long run. It is much more efficient, far more efficient than getting everybody in cars, okay? And it also enables people to not just work much more efficiently, but also to get around and to live much more efficiently, to live a lot more, live healthier, okay? A lot of the problems in this country has to do with health too, okay? So having walkable streets, having walkable spaces where more people are tend to be safer spaces. When you have safer spaces, people tend to walk more. Okay, again, it all comes back in itself. It's sort of in a sense of a butterfly effect. Okay, but it's not a butterfly effect that's going to fix everything. Okay, I'm not saying that high-speed rail is going to be an end-all, fix-all to everything, but I guarantee you it's going to do a lot more good than just throwing money at problems and saying, well, if we bail out companies, this will fix the economy. As GDP goes up, everybody's incomes are going down. That's not helping. That's what we get. So again, we can all agree, whether we're on the right wing or left wing, we can all say that, look, we just want things to work. Okay? Why you just stop bickering and get it to work? If you're not going to get it to work, move out of the way so we can do it. Okay, so this was more news that I got out of California. So I believe this is Palmdale. Yeah, Palmdale Transit Area Specific Plan. So they're doing sort of a DOT plan over here, a multimodal high-speed rail station for the California High-Speed Rail Authority. So they went ahead and okayed the area plan in order to, fix up the entire area. And again, you guys got to realize, the California High-Speed Rail is not just upgrading, they're not just laying down tracks and doing it and getting it done. They're also moving a lot of the state roads and interstates to also coincide with the project, either in building tunnels or building bridges, or reassessing and moving the right-of-way for roads in order to make way for the trains. And when they do this, they're also upgrading the roads too. Okay? So again, it's a win-win for both roads and rails. It works both ways. So this, I thought it was pretty interesting. The future arrival of California high-speed rail system, including a multimodal rail station near the existing Palmdale Transportation Center, will really transform the way residents live, work, and play in this area. Let's see. The plan focuses on increasing density around the future high-speed rail station, enables a pedestrian-oriented district with a mix of commercial and public uses while being mindful of neighborhood character. Okay, so again, this is very good. This article is saying there's more than 4,500 construction workers dispatched since the start of construction. Some people have just said in the comments that there's 5,000 people. But what I mean by 3,000, there's 3,000 full-time jobs right now. Okay, some of those are part-time jobs out of the rest of them. So the 1,500 or so, or either part-time, or they already worked on a part of it and they're done, or there'll be more. All right, we're getting towards the end over here, and then we're gonna start talking about this year and what we want for next year. So let's speed this up over here because it's already 9:20. I've spent already, yeah, it's been about an hour and 20 minutes or so on this live stream. Were you guys enjoying it so far? At least we're enjoying it, right? We're having a nice, good time. Having drinks, having brownies. Relaxing. That's what it's all about here, right? And we're just having a good time. It's Christmas time. Let's at least get together in this year. And I know it's funny, like when people say, and then something happened when they talk about 2020. They always put the New Year's Eve ball from last year, and like that's when everything started to happen. Like the moment the ball went down to 2020, that's when it happened. Again, just because the year ends doesn't mean all the bad stuff ends. Okay, 2021, a lot of bad things can still happen in 2021. All right, but at least this year we've moved forward in so many areas in terms of rail transportation. Okay. And even this channel has grown a lot too. We've gotten over 10,000 new subscribers to this channel. We've doubled this year, which has been very good, okay? And I think we can do a lot better. And again, we could have done a heck of a lot better this year. I really dropped the ball a lot this year in terms of that. We'll talk about it later, but we'll get to it. I know, exactly. Let's focus on the good things over here. So let's go to Italy right now. So Italy. So they're getting a new project over here for Trenitalia, for a new Verona to Padua project. It's around 4.8 billion euros and represents an important link across the country's northeast. It is stated to be a new contributor to revive the economy and create employment opportunity in the infrastructure sector. Again, the downtime right now is very good to start opening up these projects and getting people back to work. That's what we need to do, okay? And so many countries, or you've seen this in history, okay? A lot of countries that were falling apart, they all of a sudden started putting a heck of a lot of infrastructure projects and started getting the country, at least the populace, having a sense of purpose again, at the very least, as well on top of that, a meaningful employment. That's what we're trying to do over here. And it's not just employment talking about we're just working on the railroad and all the other ancillary activities that go with building a rail line. It's also the other activities that stem from the construction of high-speed rail lines. There's from just the restaurants that just support that feed the people, the construction workers that go to these restaurants and to get a sandwich or whatnot and go back to work for lunch, to the larger industries that later benefit from the construction of high-speed rail lines, from businesses in the area and tourism, etc. Okay, so it goes from all the way from the bottom, all the way to the top. This is a true top-down economy. Okay, that's what it really brings with high-speed rail. Okay, it's very much a blatant lie when people say, "Oh, high-speed rail is only for the rich." Okay, A, that's completely false. B, most high-speed rail tickets are on par or cheaper than most airline tickets to go from the same point A to point B. And then on top of that, when you have the development of high-speed rail between 2 points, it also affects and at least inspires the construction of other transit projects within those points as well. So you're helping out people within those communities. That's the whole point of it. So let's see. First work will be to clear the ground of any leftover war ordinances. Again, if you've talked to people in Europe, and again, Ruben is a very good friend that I have over in Belgium. The last World War I and World War II. World War I being absolutely destructive, but World War II, again, of course, the most recent one. You had much more of a development of bombing technology and a lot more aerial bombing happening in World War II. Hence, there's a lot of bombs that either never blew up, or a lot of minefields, especially in areas where there was a lot more conflict. A lot of minefields that are still there, so be careful where you walk in some places, because you'll just lose your foot and you'll be flying up and down in the air. So just be careful there. You'll be moving like a ragdoll figure in Unity or something, in Unity engine. The railway. So they get rid of all the bombs and mines in order for the tunnel to be built in the district of San Martino Buon Albergo. Okay, the railway can then pass under the A4 highway in eastern Verona. This month, the consortium will be selecting supply companies by using an innovative qualification system respecting the EU directive. To improve the quality and service of the existing railway, the first functional lot will run 44.2 kilometers That's about 20 or so, 23, 25 miles or so through 13 municipalities. This will also establish a strong link to the European network. Additionally, it will help lower environmental impact and the number of road accidents. The project is envisioned to be completed by 2026. And you know what? They'll probably complete it anyway because at least Europe has some sense when it comes to railway projects. It's just sad how far we've fallen back. We've basically built back Europe with the Marshall Plan, but we don't have any sort of a Marshall Plan for our own to build up and fix up our own economy. That's what we really need to do. Yeah, okay, we're gonna get away from the depressional stuff over here. Well, I just when I said we're gonna get away from the depressional stuff, and I just brought up the next tab, and we're talking about how voters want to see emergency funding for transit. Again, this is a bipartisan issue. Okay, let's just forget for a moment Congress. Okay. Most of America over here is like 30% Republican, 30% Democrat, and 30%, the rest of it is, independent or whatever other parties, okay? The rest of the 40% there, okay? But what most people do want to see high-speed rail, okay? When you see opposition in most of these rural areas, it's not even the majority of that rural area that doesn't want to see high-speed rail, okay? Because I can tell you, and it's not just an anecdote, but we've done studies also in the Treasure Coast, and we've talked to people. Most people from the Treasure Coast, back when Brightline was all aboard Florida, and you had CARES and Florida Not All Aboard running at full speed to try to kill All Aboard Florida, which is proto Brightline. They were trying to kill the project. They were just a very small fringe group of very loud NIMBY activists that wanted to stop this. And again, we saw a pattern with these NIMBY activists and the leaders of these NIMBY activists. They were either very, very well-to-do, okay? They were very well-to-do baby boomers, most of them. Again, don't take that term, if you are a baby boomer, don't take that term as a negative term. I'm just saying the truth over here, okay? Most of them were older folks that either ran country clubs or were country club members. Okay, again, you can look at this in the video that I had. Go look at the video, Who's Against All Aboard Florida, okay? You see a pattern between all of them. Or you have people, who were in the airlines, like the big kahuna from American Airlines over here, that, was putting in millions of dollars. Darn, I just forgot his name. But this is the type of things that happen, okay? It's big money, a very small fringe group of people in these areas that is against this. But when we actually look at the real, the real voters, 77% of voters want to see emergency funding for public transportation. 77% of voters, okay? Self-identified as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, okay? That's everybody, okay? 77% of people, okay? That's nearly 8 in 10 people. 8 out of 10 people want to see infrastructure fixed in this country. They don't want to see it fixed later on. They don't want to see a 30-year plan or a 50-year plan. They wanted to see it fixed, 5 years ago. They want to see it fixed yesterday. That's what we're talking about over here. But again, most of this, again, just ignore the politicians for a second, okay? Most people, whether they're Republican or Democrat, your friends on the street, your peers, the people you work with, or the people you go to school with, okay? Most people are fine with high-speed rail. They want to see it. That's what they want to see happening. Okay? Okay, we don't want to see people like, what's his face? Darn, I'm trying to think of, who was the name of the president and CEO of American Airlines back in the late 70s and 80s and 90s. I'm trying to just forgot his name here. Comments, help me out here if you can. Yeah, again, it's all about, as long as it's not in your backyard. That's what it is. Bob Crandall, there we go. Bob Crandall. It's just funny. Bob Crandall gets out of American Airlines. He goes to retire in what he would think would be sleepy little, Treasure Coast of Florida with his millions of dollars, and he still has millions of dollars invested in the whole airlines. And then the minute you hear about high-speed rail, he's against it. You know, and funny enough, he even personally said in interviews that if he were, let's say, the king of America or the emperor of America, that he would build high-speed rail lines and it would make sense in places between like Boston, New York, and D.C. and whatnot. So again, it's all about money. They know it makes sense, but they want their money. That's all it is. It's all about the almighty dollar. That's their god. Jesus is the reason for the season, but hey, it's all about the dollars to these companies. So speaking of big money, this is an opinion that I got over here from I think it's streets.mn, Minnesota, whatnot. Somebody named Speed Rogers. I don't know if that's actually a nickname or for real, but this is I thought this was interesting. So Biden should invest $1 trillion in trains. That's an opinion. Again, this is this guy's opinion or person's opinion. I don't know. I don't know if it's a male with long hair or a female with long hair, because male people do have long hair. Hey, I'm growing out my hair a little bit here as well. Got like a ponytail and whatnot. It's not a man bun. It's a ponytail. Okay? Maybe I'll continue growing it. I don't know. But I'd like to keep it like nice and at least, like close crop to here. I don't like it all over the place. I don't know. Again, you can't assume anybody's gender anymore. So I'm let's see. Now that Joe Biden is president-elect, he must ask Congress to include a rail infrastructure package in any upcoming coronavirus relief bill. For the sake of the economy and the climate, any economic relief bill must fund rail infrastructure investments at a massive scale. The United States have underinvested in passenger rail for decades. Underinvestment, that's you're not even close to where we are, buddy. Underinvesting. Leaving our country far behind peer nations across the world and making us dependent on highly unsustainable automobile-paced transportation and freight. Absolutely true. Joe Biden has promised that part of his vision for a post-COVID economy is a second great railroad revolution in the United States that he has no time to lose. And he has no time to lose. Again, Obama said the same thing. Biden, you were president, vice president before. You had control of both the Senate and Congress, back in 2008 and 2010. Let's see if we get it done this time, if so happens. Again, I hope so. If it is and it's going to happen, I hope so. Okay, I'm being honest. I hope it happens. I hope it happens. If it is, if not, if we go through another administration, and nothing substantial happens, I hope most of you who are still on the other side also realize that they're not going to help us either. I've already lost faith in both sides a long time ago. Okay, I've lost faith in the Republicans a very long time ago as well. But if you guys still think that they're going to be able to do anything, both parties, again, it's all about the almighty dollar to both of them. And I just hope this happens. Again, I'm kind of being, a little bit, dark about it or whatnot, but, I'm just hoping that it happens. Noam Chomsky criticized. Okay, so this is from Carminalo MP4 here in the comments. Bask in his man bun and its mastic. Oh, come on, Holly. It's not a man bun. All right, so let's go over here. Noam Chomsky criticized the fact that U.S. imports trains from Spain instead of letting domestic companies manufacture and design them. I agree with that. You wouldn't think a very right-wing, Cuban descent, American-born, red-blooded guy would agree with Noam Chomsky of all people and anything. But funny enough, I would agree if he actually did say that statement. I would agree with him. That is just absolutely insane that we would be importing in, trains instead of building them in here. And we did that for a while. But now we're starting to, at least with the Build America bill and whatnot that was at least passed. That was at least one of the good things that was passed during the Obama administration, was at least getting stuff built here in America instead of just importing them over, either from Canada or from Europe or whatnot. But at least having that over here and having a base of infrastructure. That's what we want. Okay? Yeah, Alstom did build the Avelias, but they built them over here. That's at least a good thing. They built them at least here in this country and hired people. The same thing with Siemens. Siemens is a German company, but they at least build the trains over in California for both Brightline and for Amtrak, and hopefully for Brightline West as well, and for other companies that will also be getting them. Actually, some other companies have also gotten some of their trains as well. So let's see. Again, let's bring in the articles. Again, I want to get other people's opinions on here, and let's again, in both people's opinions, in both sides' opinions, there will always be modicums of truth somewhere. Okay, even a raging communist is right once in a while. Okay, that's coming from me. You guys know my politics, but that's coming from me. So let's hope that, over here. I'm not assuming that this guy's a raging communist, nor assuming that he is indeed a male or not a female. I don't know. A name like Speed Rogers, that sounds like somebody would be, I don't know, like Steve Rogers, Captain America. That's what I'm thinking. It's a pun of the name of. I don't know. In order to realize Biden's vision of a second rail renaissance, he must create an independent United States high-speed rail authority. That would actually be good instead of the FRA. Just have everything through there. No more EPA, no more FRA. No more cross involvement of all these different alphabet soup organizations. Just one dedicated to high-speed rail. Okay, will it work? Is it environmentally safe in this area? Yes. Will it impede or impact other people? Very negatively? No. Will it create jobs? Yes. There we go. Rubber stamp it and get it moving on. We need to build it. With dedicated annual funding to purchase, upgrade, and build high-speed rail infrastructure around the country without relying on states to implement the construction of the system. Okay, that's something that, if you're going to do it from a federal perspective, maybe, but, if you're going to start building it in states or building it in between states, that have no control over what's going on, you're going to create problems with that. At least do it in the states that at least support it. Just do that. This authority must initially prioritize upgrades to existing infrastructure while also planning for new dedicated high-speed rail. Also helping Amtrak over here. Also must exist outside of Amtrak and own both the trackage rights and associated infrastructure, allowing Amtrak to operate solely as a passenger rail carrier. Even 5% of the annual Pentagon budget, roughly $37 billion, dedicated to passenger rail infrastructure, will allow a radical transformation in the U.S. passenger and freight railroads, something President-elect Biden has promised to pursue when elected. Well, good luck, because, last time we had the military-industrial complex was in full swing, starting stuff all over the place. But I got to stop talking about other politics. This funding redirection would provide the Department of Transportation the funds to radically invest in our railroad infrastructure, which is crucial for economic prosperity and national defense. Using this new pool of funding, the next administration should fully fund California high-speed rail project, assist in building out the Texas and Florida high-speed rail systems already in construction, and build all of Amtrak's recommended upgrades to the Northeast Corridor. Emphasis should be placed on identified projects based on need and economic benefit, while also planning for the next 50 years of rail infrastructure. And it goes on and on. Again, I'll put all these articles in the comments and, in the description below so you guys can see it right after this video is done. Oh, I already did this article. Why is there another one here about it? All right. Final article. We're almost done, and then we'll talk about the year. How Europe's night trains came back from the dead. Actually, you know what? Let's just skip this one. I'll leave this article here for you guys to read. This was an interesting read over here. When Europe, basically all their rails were just basically messed up, and most people weren't taking night trains anymore, and they brought them back. That's an interesting one. So again, I'll put on all the articles. We'll go ahead and copy and paste them and put them into the description below. I don't know if I can edit this in real time. I don't want to mess this up because I don't want to. YouTube is acting a fool over here, and I don't want them to mess up over here. 5 minutes to 120 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. I know it's gone on a little bit longer. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this full screen so we can talk about the news over here. Oof, that's a little bit too close. Webcam, screen recording. Can I make this a little smaller here? I don't know if it's got the real webcam or whatnot over here. Messing around with OBS, and it's not working too well. But let's do this. Maybe I'll just go ahead and no, that is the size. All right. There we go. Oh, I don't want to mess that up. Okay, there we go. All right, let's talk about this year and next year. Okay, so 2020, again, a very, very contentious year. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, mostly downs. But we had a very big push in the rail industry. And again, as bad as this year was in so many other facets, at least we got so much done with rail infrastructure. One of the big ones being that we got Brightline West that's, starting to move forward, at least. We got rid of the whole Virgin, the connection with Virgin, the Virgin Group, which, I was skeptical about it at first. Of course, I supported it, and at least, to give support for Brightline, like I said. Like I said in the video before, like I said about Virgin, I was supportive of it because I was supportive of Brightline, and as long as Brightline thought they were doing the right thing, as long as it was going to help the economy of Florida and help get people to move onto the rails, it would be a good thing, okay? But Virgin has turned into a very, very, I wouldn't say enemy, because they're not really an enemy, but they've gone off the rails, both literally and figuratively, because they're working on the Hyperloop full speed ahead, or at least plastering their name all over it. And that's another thing that has taken a lot of attention for years away from actual projects that work. That's what we're trying to do, is bring this over together. So I really do think, with what happened this year with high-speed rail, it's still moving forward, and it's still good, okay? Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of passengers because of the effects of the coronavirus, okay? Mainly that if people are stuck at home, or if people are under orders to stay at home, they're not going to really take the train. Hence why you have 80% of passengers that should be on Amtrak are not on Amtrak this year during the holidays because of that. So we hope that next year that these lockdowns start to end, as whether the vaccine is or not. We've already seen, even the CDC said that this virus isn't as deadly as we thought it was going to be. Okay, is it bad? If you catch it and you don't do so well, yes. The flu is also pretty bad too. Okay, we have flu season coming up again. All right. Apart from that, we need to get people back to work. Okay, the much healthier back at work, at least having a purpose. They cannot be on unemployment for the rest of their lives, for the rest of this until we're all stuck in here. Okay, I don't want to be on it. No, most people don't want to be on it. We all want to be back on work. So we will get past this. Okay. Now it's going to take a while for all the effects of COVID, because there's going to be long-term lingering effects from it, of course. Okay, and it's going to take at least 5 years or so for 80% at least for the economy to get back in motion. Now that was some of the I was reading some economic articles and whatnot. But at least that's what I see, like in the middle there. It's going to take at least a good portion of it to get back into it. At least like 80% will probably be back, by 2025, 2024. Okay? And later on, we'll be back in sort of in full swing. Again, this is a blip, and it takes a bit to get back to where we were. All right? I don't think it's no V-shaped recovery or anything like that. It's definitely going to be a lot more L-shaped. And anybody... any party that says it's a V shape and, the economy is back, the economy was already on a house of cards before this ever happened. This just showed everybody how terribly eaten up the foundation is. When you look at the foundation of America's economy, there's a whole bunch of termites and little fires that have been in the foundation of our economy. But the good thing that I see happening here is that at least we're getting involved, okay? This channel has doubled. And again, I apologize for dropping the ball on a lot of this, okay? Losing my job was not a fun thing, especially at a company that I really liked because of this. But, I'm doing the best to get back into it, okay? And at least having more videos and getting back on board with it is a good thing, okay? But this I think is good. Ryan Rail, put your poster on the door. It would look nice there. All right, well, let's see. I don't know. Should we have it on the door or should we have it on the wall? I don't know. Say 1 if you want it on the door, or say 2 if you want it on the wall. Okay, let's put that there. We'll do a little poll over here. YouTube, maybe we should do like polls on the live chats. That would be nice if we could do that. Live polls. That would be nice. You should check out Ownership Economy. I think I've seen some of his videos. I'm not quite sure. Okay, we got 2, 1. Okay, two for the wall, right over here. Again, I'll move the camera a little bit so you guys can sort of see where it would be. It'll be 2 for the wall, or one for the door. Again, so it all depends on where the camera is moving. All right. But if I have it over here, which is more kind of in the middle between where I have on my first monitor and my laptop monitor, kind of makes more sense on the door. I don't know. Maybe I'll find something to put on the wall. Let's see. All right. It seems like it's the door. All right. So the door it is. We're putting it on the door. All right. But I do think is that, and again, I've really dropped the ball, and I've wanted to punch myself so many times for like messing up little things. Again, these are big things to you guys, and it's big things to me. But sending little things like the gifts or whatnot that I just have sitting next to me or whatnot. I have like all these mugs sitting here, all these stickers sitting here because I either get distracted or not doing anything, or trying to work on the videos and whatnot, and then life hits you, and it hits you multiple times. But that's what we're trying to do, and next year we're getting on the ball with that. And before I leave for Miami, because I'm going back to to Florida for a little bit for New Year's, and then I'm coming back over here and getting full steam back to work. But once I get back over here, hopefully all these packages, all the gifts and everything, and the prizes that everybody gotten, will get out. Okay, so let's get that there. But I do think that next year, the things I really want to look forward to is, again, the reopening of Brightline, getting that back onto there, moving forward in the final approval of Texas Central Railway, and the final approval for Brightline West. Those are the big three main things that we want to see happen next year. Okay? And hopefully, look, and let's say the administration, let's say if it's the Biden administration or whatnot again, which at this point it's looking more and more likely that it is. Okay, this whole 2 weeks in Kraken BS, and whether it's Q or QAnon or EAnon or L from Death Note or whichever letter of the alphabet it is who's secretly working in the government or whatever. The Patriots are in control. I'm sick of that BS. Okay, whoever is president next year. Okay. But at least some sort of movement to get an actual stimulus in the transportation sector to get the economy. Okay, that's the bonus. Okay, the bonus I wish column. Okay, but the three things that I'm looking forward to, and I'm predicting that will happen next year and will be good, would be, again, the final approval for Texas Central Railway to start building, getting shovels in the ground, getting those getting those bulldozers moving, and getting all these rails set down on the ground. Brightline finally, get back into motion and finish up Orlando, which will probably open up the year afterwards in 2022 to finally get operations going into Orlando, and to get also Brightline West to get moving, and at least getting at least some sort of first shovel in the ground or something like that, getting some sort of ceremony. At least if that happens, that'll be good. All right. So let me get a break over here and have a brownie, have a swig, and let's see what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you, Carmenalo. Thank you. Peace to you guys to Sweden too. Yeah, and again, America is so known for being, we pride ourselves on being the #1 country in the world and the most powerful country in the world. But we got to realize that doesn't last forever, okay? The glory of Rome did not last forever. As long as it lasted for, 1,000 years. America's not going to even last for 200 and 300 at this point. We already lasted 200 years. Yeah, looking like Santa, but like a very buff Santa though. Not very buff, but I can bench max bench press. I did a new record, 280 pounds. So I'm getting up there. That's more than twice my body weight. I'm weighing at I think 165 right now, which for somebody 5'9", that's a little bit more than they should weigh. Bodybuilder claws. Cheers from Brazil. Thank you, Enrique. Cheers to you guys in Brazil, too. All right, Ronell Reed is asking. Yeah, I saw you put there. I'm sorry I didn't get to your comment before, or your question before. Do you think we're playing hide and go seek with the coup? Again, I'm sorry I'm going to go delve into here a little bit of politics, but there are a lot of people that are taking advantage of this Because again, look at Amazon. Amazon has grown exponentially thanks to the coronavirus because everybody's staying at home and a lot of small businesses are dying. There was a picture that I got from a tweet. So it was basically a closed down laundromat. And it says, opening soon, Popeyes. And then the tweet says, this used to be a laundromat that was owned by an immigrant family. Okay, so again, you're seeing a lot of destruction of small businesses. A lot of small businesses are dying from this economy and from the imposed lockdowns. Okay, a lot of these draconian lockdowns, yes, they're done for the purpose of saying to keep us safe. However, is it really keeping people safe when you're taking away their jobs and their livelihood? And we know that more people, when the unemployment numbers go up, more people start to kill themselves. And I believe it's the number, I believe for every 1% of unemployment that goes up, you have 10,000 people that at least off themselves off in one way or another. Okay, let's not use our imagination there, and let's try to be a little bit more cheery over here. But, the reality of it is that with unemployment, you cause a lot more issues. You cause people to start, going gambling, or you're drinking way too much, or they're having spousal abuse at home, or other, objects, okay? People's jobs, in a sense, are their livelihood, okay? This has a source of purpose, a sense of purpose to them, okay? Luckily, I have a sense of purpose with this job, doing here in the club and whatnot, and I want to see high-speed rail happen, okay? Most other people don't really have that type of thing that they do. Most people just want to go to work and go home and just relax, which is, is perfectly fine. That's what most people do. But that's what we want. We want to be able to have, small businesses make up the bulk of America's economy, okay? And I've worked for big businesses. I work for small businesses, okay? And believe me when I say this, you're much better off. And our to be honest, our generation, the last generation, was much better off because they had a lot more small businesses, which meant a lot more personal interaction, a lot more interpersonal connections to stay in businesses, okay? I don't want to hear this BS from large corporations that, in this corporation, you're a family to us. We treat you like family. What kind of, like an abusive family, maybe, but they're not a family. It's like, funny enough, when I look at it, and when I played this game, really the place where we're heading to, we're already here, okay? We're already in this dark future where the corporations, sort of run everything. The government is corrupt, and people are, out of their mind, degenerate, and, are turning psychopathic. You don't need to have, everybody wearing robotic arms and eyes and augments and stuff like that in like some sort of Deus Ex world, okay? In a sense, we're looking at, the way the world has become in a series of decades of our country dismantling and, ceding our place of becoming the top economy in the world, of saying that we have the most prosperity here, that you can come to this country and do whatever you want, no matter your race, wherever you're from, or anything. And to be here and to do, to build a business or whatnot, okay? My family came here from Cuba basically losing absolutely everything. They came here with nothing, except, the only thing they got from the government was a Coke, bottle of milk, $100. They said, good luck. Here you are. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New Jersey. Build it back up. And by the grace of God, they were able to come back up, to the point that they were able to have a job and able to grow families, and that's the sort of thing that we want to have in this country. Everybody to have an opportunity no matter what. That's what it is, okay? And this country's principles have been, trampled on for so much. And that's the thing about high-speed rail. Because high-speed rail is sort of, to me, sort of the face of that. And one thing, at least, there's a whole lot of things you can pick on or whatnot. But at least for my thing, I'm focusing on transit, okay? Everybody else is focusing on, whether it's, the country's, morals or anything else or whatnot. You can point to a whole bunch of other things. But at least I'm going to be the person, at least for our generation, to talk about at least a transportation infrastructure system. Because we need a transportation and a robust infrastructure system to have anything, okay? High-speed internet, that's infrastructure. Sewers, that's infrastructure. Roads, infrastructure. Electricity, infrastructure. Lighting, infrastructure. Railroads, definitely infrastructure. And why the focus on railroads is because railroads are, the biggest thing that we can be able to see, right? When you see a high-speed rail, train going and zooming past you, it makes a much bigger impact than seeing, an electric pole or seeing a sewer line. Really? What, you want to go ahead and look down at the sewers and see a creepy clown with a balloon with you saying, hey, come down here. We all float down here. Excuse me for the It reference, but, again, the thing that people want to see are things like this, right? That's what we want to see here in this country, okay? And to see that other countries, funny enough, a country, that we bombed to smithereens, in World War II, and they're having things like this zooming around at over 200 miles an hour. And we can barely do the same thing, And again, there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe we do spend way too much in our military budget. And again, I'm a conservative person saying that we have too much emphasis on our military, and it's not even in the good way. We're not even giving the military the actual right equipment that they need in order to win wars or whatnot. We're sending them over there. We're keeping them over there. We're not finishing the job or doing what we started, and we're just basically going on adventures. And it's terrible for all these veterans coming back, and they're not getting the health care that they need. And then we trample on them. That's absolutely despicable. The soldiers do not deserve that at all whatsoever. Okay, and nobody in this country doesn't deserve any of that. But this is the type of thing that we need. We need to have an economy to get back over here. And that's the same thing in World War II. Once the end of World War II happened, we had so many young men that came back, and there was very little in the country that that needed to be done. And that we had a boost in it because we had a boost in our economy. We were the only economy standing because we were basically running the war after through, because England was basically busted up and destroyed. We were only, the only places we were invaded were in Hawaii and in Alaska. If you guys don't remember, Japan did invade into Alaska for a little bit there, and that was a bit of a disaster on both sides, but that's something else to look over. Look at the Aleutian Islands. That's pretty funny. But yeah, and you're correct, Renell. Private companies did build the first rail lines, and again, a lot of it had to do with from the governments as well, allowing private companies in order to get these land projects and these land grants for basically next to nothing. And it was a different world back then. It was indeed the wild frontier. Most of America wasn't even populated in terms of square footage. But now we're in a different time. But again, history sort of repeats itself. Rhymes with itself. It doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Okay, where you see sort of the same type of stories sort of appear, or the fall of nations, the rise of nations. Just it's the same cycles coming in and out and ebbing and flowing over and over again. And that's what we're trying to bring back with high-speed rail, because high-speed rail is the next revolution of our transportation network. You look at photos, and now me and Holly, we went over to the Indiana Historical Society, and they have like this little interactive area over there. They gave us pens to go ahead and use it so you don't get the Kufu one. I was just picking there with my fingers. I don't care. But I was going over there, and I was looking in the 1920s, how Indianapolis looked back then, and all the projects they were doing. It took them 20 years to raise up a lot of the heavy freight railroads, because so many people were getting ripped to pieces from the railroads that were basically on the on the same level of the roads back then, and there people were just walking across. You didn't have nowhere near the level of safety or the safety regulations that you have now. But now you're just going ahead and basically it took them almost 20 years to get that done. But you look in the 1920s or so of Indianapolis, you see pictures of cars everywhere. There are street cars also. You have trams, trolleys, whatever you want to call them, trains, and you have the railroad station. Okay, so it's all working in conjunction over there. Now, of course, you add on. We had the airlines. Okay, but the problem is that there's a big difference between how the airlines came about in the United States and how the railroads came in the United States. The airlines were much more heavily influenced by the governments than they were by private companies. And now you have this imbalance over here where the airlines are getting everything. It's in terms of efficiency, to get from point A to point B, it's nowhere near as efficient as a train, especially between 300 and 500 miles or so. Past that, it's perfectly fine. We see this in countries in Japan where past 500 miles and past 400 miles or so, most people opt to go ahead and take a flight. We see this over in places in Europe, but most people between England and Paris, 80% of the time they're going to take a train. Why? Because it's close enough ahead and it's fast enough in order to facilitate that efficient mode of travel. That's what we want to bring over here. Okay? Yeah, and funny enough, Ryan Rail is correct over here. The railroad tax is paid for the airlines. That's just insane. Let's see. Let's get some more comments over here. It's 10 o'clock. I'm going to end this at like a 10:10. Again, we knew this was going to go longer or whatnot, but this is, it's Christmas. Let's just relax. This was a pretty all right beer, but man, am I dry from just talking a lot? So I'm just taking it. Not really that heavy on alcohol at all because I'm not really feeling any of the effects. Excuse me. Megabus runs between cities and as does Greyhound. What is the difference between the two bus companies? There's a massive difference between the two bus companies. Megabus is more of like, let's say, like Ryanair. Funny enough, you said Ryan Rail, but Ryanair, like on all these budget airlines that you see mostly in the in Europe and whatnot, that they're basically telling you to sit on these plastic buckets. And if you wanna breathe once, you pay like $30. You wanna breathe twice, you pay $60. You need to, you want a little bit more wiggle over here this way, you got to pay $15. Or if you cough, that's 25 cents you got to pay into the bucket. Budget airlines like that, they nickel and dime you wherever they can. But that's sort of like what Megabus is. Greyhound is much more I would say established and has been around for a while. But a lot more people right now are opting to Megabus. But again, the reason why these bus companies exist is because there's very much a lack of robust rail transportation. Now, we see this like in other countries, like in Japan. I know I keep saying this. We see this in other countries, but we do. Okay, they're also humans too, right? I get that Japan is so technologically advanced. I don't know. I saw this video the other day. I sent it to my group of buddies and on Skype and whatnot. But I sent this to some other people. But there was there's a group in Japan that plays CRT TVs as a guitar and whatnot and a fan and whatnot. They're basically playing electronics as electronic instruments. I know those people feel like they're in a different dimension and on a different planet, but they're still human. Okay, they still follow the same basic principles that most humans do. We all eat, we all sleep, and we all want to have fun at least at some point. But here's the thing. Okay, they do have bus transportation there, and it's pretty good bus transportation. However, let's say you want to get from Tokyo to Osaka. Okay, so the budget way to get through, if you just want to get there, overnight, and you really don't care about comfort. Okay, you just want to save money. You're gonna pay $40 or something like that. You can go from Tokyo to Osaka in 8 hours on a bus, right? But if you want to get there fast, let's say, if, you're either, a tourist or, you're taking a day trip or you're a business person or let's say you have, you actually want to do it. Okay. Or you take the trip regularly and you don't mind paying the fee. You can pay about $100 or so and go ahead and get a ticket to go from Tokyo to Osaka in 2 hours. Right. So that's the difference between that. Or you can take a plane. But you're not going to be going into the middle of Shinosaka Station. You're going to be going, over to the airport, which is about 30 minutes outside the city, give or take, if traffic is good. And then you have to get out of the airplane. You have to deplane and get out, and then run through the terminal, and find a taxi or find an Uber, and then go to the go to the railway station, and then go from the railroad, and then go into the city. So again, it's you have choices, or you can drive from Tokyo to Osaka, which most people don't really own cars in Japan because there's really no need to. Again, there's a lot of options that you have. Now we can have the same thing over here. Now, yes, when people come up, there is a difference in terms of car culture in other countries. It's a lot more expensive to own a car or to even get the privilege. Because it's not a right. You shouldn't be, you don't have the right to drive a car. It is a privilege to drive and operate a motor vehicle, which is a lot harder to operate a motor vehicle than it is to operate firearm, okay? And it's a lot more dangerous to operate a motor vehicle than it is to operate a firearm, okay? That's the reality of it. You know, vehicles kill more people here than firearms do in this country. Especially when the majority of firearm deaths in this country, like 2 out of 3 of them are suicides. That's the reality of it. Yes, 100% of automobile accidents are accidents, but that's the thing. It's a misuse of the machinery. So, you know, again, in other countries, it's a lot harder to buy a car or to operate a vehicle because of value-added taxes or other taxes that are added on. So let's say a Toyota Camry over here, which costs, let's say realistically $18,000 or so, you know, tax, tip, and delivery once you get everything on there. And the only thing they're going to have at the dealership is they're not going to have a bare bones Camry with a manual stick shift or whatnot that's $1,000 cheaper. They're going to have the automatic, and ooh, look at this. Oh yeah, you have to get Sirius XM and the heated seats. Enjoy it. Okay, that's the cheapest we have on the lot, so you have to get it. Compared to, you know, let's say in Tokyo, to buy the same Camry is probably going to cost, give or take, you know, about $30,000, $35,000. Now, could you afford it if you had the money? And a lot of people do. Yes, a lot of people do own, you know, vehicles in Japan and in Tokyo. Nowhere near as far as, you know, anybody in public cities. However, having the ability to just walk around, not having to own and operate the vehicle, not having to have the amount of, you know, even if let's say if it was as cheap in the United States, let's say if it was as cheap as anywhere here in the United States, discounting California and New York City, because those are very expensive to operate a vehicle, discounting the big cities, because hey, it's as cheap to operate a vehicle as it is in, like, let's say, I don't know, like Ocala, Florida or whatnot, where the gas is pretty cheap. Okay? If it was that cheap, would you still own and operate a vehicle? Most likely not, because you have such a robust system and it's a lot more efficient that you would want to just rather go ahead and just leave the car at home and say, hey, I would rather just go ahead and just, you know, walk down the street or take my bike to the train station, and with my bike, I just go to work. Right? And again, it's a different lifestyle over there, absolutely. But it's a lifestyle that is, you know, available because you have that infrastructure available. Okay? And even New York, okay? Again, New York City is probably the only city that's anywhere near close to what we're supposed to have. And even New York, but the problem is, look at New York City's MTA. Look at their subway system. It's falling apart. It's nowhere near any level of any, you know, large, massive transit railway system. And it is one of the most massive. In terms of trackage for just a singular operator, it's the most massive system. And they run 24/7, barring any natural disasters or, you know, citywide shutdowns or anything like that. But the MTA, look at the MTA. I mean, look, just the picture over here. Look at this. It's dark. It's ugly. It's disgusting. There's rats that go into there that, you know, can take in, pizzas and whatnot. Let me just move over here, okay? Look at this. It's ugly. Okay, it's falling apart. It's ugly. It's nowhere. Again, it's not as pretty or as nice as what the Japanese have, or it's not as pretty as nice as what the Germans or the French or the English or what the Belgians have, or the Spaniards or anybody else. Okay, but this is the problem. This is the face that people see when they want to go to New York. This is the first thing that they see, right? When they go to the train system. Okay, it's dirty. It's ugly. It's disgusting. All right. We can't even fix our own systems to provide for our own people. The systems that have been here for more than 100 years, for more than a century, we can't even upkeep those. That's where the problem is. All right? I went on a long freaking diatribe right there, guys. Again, you know I'm pretty infamous for that. But that's, you know, again, that's the reality of it. We're trying to fix this. We're trying to have a country, you know, worth having, worth living, worth working in, you know, worth having, worth being proud of, okay? And nowhere I'm saying that I'm not proud to be American. You know, damn straight I'm proud to be American. But there's a lot of people, and especially a lot of our politicians, that are just sucking us dry. They're sucking us dry. They don't care, okay? You know, I know a lot of them, you know, and if I talk to them or whatnot, you know, they say, we're trying to help and whatnot. But the thing is, like, when I tell them, it's like, you know, I get you, and personally, you know, you're a nice guy, and I have drinks with them or whatnot. But the problem is that my generation and other people, They don't see it that way. They all see you as blood-sucking vampires that live in DC. That's the problem. So, I'll end it on that note. Let's see what we got over here. Let me see. Funky Skunk say millennials give stuff up. Yeah, right now on this planet. What stuff? What stuff do millennials have at this point? GN, I'm a Gen Z. If a car wasn't needed here in California, I wouldn't own one. Yeah. Again, cars are expensive to upkeep and whatnot. They're great, to have if you have them and whatnot. And I love automobiles, okay? I went to college to, originally to become a mechanical engineer to design vehicles. But I changed up and I said, we need somebody with, some business acumen in order to bring in high-speed rail. That's what we need in this country. Lots of dings and lots of tones in the train stations of Japan. They love those. They love those little, the little jingles in the train stations. You can look up on YouTube. There's a whole video behind the jingles of the train stations and whatnot, and the guy who actually can puts them on pianos and stuff like that. It's that's the thing about it. Even to the littlest amount of detail. You know how much pride people have to have that much that much pride in their system, to even the littlest of detail, from everything to the jingles that you hear in the stations, everything. They take so much pride in that system. Okay, we want to take pride in our system here. That's what we want to do. Yeah. Again, we don't have interest in driving cars. Even the tube looks nice than what New York has. Yeah, you look at the tube in London. And that's an older system, but they've done they've upkept that a heck of a lot better. The Fitzy Etsy said, "I hate cars because freedom of the few ends when security of all is influenced." That's very true. I don't hate cars. I love cars, but hey, that's your opinion, but definitely so. Ashkar Vicaria, do you think Biden supports rail projects? All right, I'm gonna be honest over here. Again, I really don't think Biden has even the cognitive ability to even do anything. He's probably not going to do anything. Again, we saw Trump get led around by a whole bunch of these lobbyists and whatnot, and a whole bunch of these people that he's led into his administration that had nothing to do with his original promise of what he promised during his campaign. They basically took him all for a ride, and he got, not much of anything done. Promises kept, yeah, but they were like half-assed promises. I'm gonna be honest. They weren't like full-on promises. There's no wall. There's no nothing. Immigration hasn't stopped or whatnot. The only time immigration stopped was because of the virus. But let's see. GN, 20 years ago, the London Underground was on the brink of collapse because it was run by the national government parliament. Thankfully, the city runs it now, and it's a lot better. Yeah, again, people that are the closer you are to a system, the better it is to have to have functionality of it. Okay, because if, let's say, the FRA was running the MTA, that would be a complete absolute disaster. Okay, but at least having a closer having a closer municipality or even a private company to have it, because the tube is also owned by several private companies. The MTR, the Hong Kong MTR, owns a portion of the tube also as well. So let's see that. Let's see some other comments over here. Nihon yori yeah, thank you. Arigatou gozaimashita. It's a Session Club Japan. And he's saying over here, basically, again, for the wonderful information, and he's watching over in Japan. So thank you, of course, thank you. Arigatou gozaimashita. Okay, again, you see, everybody here, again, it's a global movement. America, fix yourself, America. American people, why? That's what we should do. All right, let's start closing it off. It's 10:14. I should really get this going in. Let's see. No president will ever flip the USA passenger rail system in term unless there is a Mr. Buff Santa over here. I don't know, maybe. Depends. I'm not even old enough to become president yet. But, someday I will. All right, guys. Let's see. All right, I think we'll end it right there. All right, guys. So this is the last live stream for this year. Maybe there'll be a surprise live stream. Yeah, everybody's asking about when's the next live stream. Maybe there'll be a surprise live stream when I'm over in Florida or whatnot. Maybe I'll do one if there's some news worth going into. But usually by the Christmas week, there's usually less news going on, and people are just chilling down or whatnot. But maybe I'll come up with something. I'll probably get some videos, like a video or two, out before the year ends. Probably one more video. But 2021. I'm on a redemption arc for 2020 for failing. Personally, I think I failed so hard in 2020. So I'm going to do a personal redemption arc to really get myself back on the road over here and start getting out those big videos. Okay, like that New York versus the Tokyo subway system video. Because again, people want to see interesting videos. Okay, I know us as the core audience, we like the videos that we put on there because we're the big fans of it and whatnot. But we're also trying to bring other people into this channel so they can be able to see it. Again, these videos that get a lot of views, they're interesting to people. Okay, that's why you get into these loops in YouTube that you're wasting so much time watching so much garbage on YouTube for hours on end. When you're like, oh, I'm just gonna watch one video, and then YouTube recommends you another video, and then by the time you're just there, just slouching on there, just loving, watching YouTube videos for 5 freaking hours a day. So I don't want to be that type of guy that puts out stupid videos, but I want videos that people find interesting. That's what I want. All right, guys. So let's end it over here. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. May this year be far more prosperous than this year, and may we finally get back on the rails. So thank you all so much. From all of us here at the American Rail Club, we love you all dearly and truly. Okay, we want to see you guys soon. Hopefully we can get these meetups back up again. The only reason I've stopped them is for your guys' safety and whatnot, and for your comfort. I would do them. I probably would, but I'm just trying to keep everybody safe and sound and whatnot, not get in trouble or anything like that. It's like, oh, somebody got sick and it's the Demetrius' fault and they're dying of the coof. I don't want that to happen. So again, Merry Christmas, everyone. Next year is going to be better. Okay, again, don't worry. It depends. Again, whichever side of the aisle you are, okay, you owe it to yourself to be better for yourself. And I'm trying to better myself as well, so you guys can do it too. Neither President Trump or President Biden is gonna run your life. Okay, they're not gonna knock on your door and shake your hand and say, "Good job, son. I'm gonna give you $1 million and your life is made," or whatnot. They're not gonna do that. Okay, they don't even know your name. They don't care. Neither of them. Okay, you gotta care for you. Okay. Care for your family, stick with your family, okay? And that's what we're going to do. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you all in the next new year, maybe soon, God willing. God bless, and good night.